Okay, nako magandang gabi ho sa inyo lahat. Welcome ho sa ating program. Ako po si SONNY LARAGAN. It's a happy Thursday. Ayan, isa na namang edisyon ng Immigration Corner. At syempre, no, ayan, binabati natin yung ating mga regulars na nanonood sa atin. Magandang gabi. Sana ay nasa mabuti kayong kalagayan. Ayan, ito ho yung support bubble natin. No? We've been saying that itong ating program, in a way, parang support bubble na ho ninyo dahil kung kayo ho'y may problema na sa mental health nyo, makita nyo lang ho kami dito. No? Lalong-lalo ang ating mga kasama, syempre, yung ating regular, ang ating resident immigration expert. Walang iba kundi si Attorney LIRA, Simon CABATBAT. Pakilala ko na. Tawagin natin. Mga kaibigan, syempre, without further ado, ito na yung ating kasamang who makes your Thursday happy. Kaya natin nabansagan na happy Thursday dahil happy siya. And, she comes with all smiles and with all information about immigration. So, kung may mga tanong kayo about immigration, sigurado masasagot nito dahil eksperto ho to. Good evening, Attorney. Magandang gabi sa'yo.
Hello, Sonny. Kamusta? Happy Thursday, of course.
Yes. It's happy Thursday. Ayan, nakita na naman tayo. And I'm sure everybody who's watching right now, all smiles. Siyempre, natutuwa sila. Andiyan naman si Attorney. Nako, meron na naman tayong, patingin kanya, alala yung amuyong niya, si Mr. SONNY LARAGAN, kasama. Di ba? So good evening. How was it? Wait, you look very casual and, I don't know, sexy. Very, because, para kayo ni Attorney Dana, minsan naka-formal ngayon. Mukha yatang, may celebration ba, Attorney?
Oh, no. I tell you, anong nangyari ito? Dahil lamig sa labas, no? Ang init sa loob. I put all the heating on, no? Mm-hmm. And now it's like a sauna. In this room. So,
I know.
Makikita nyo, pawis, no? So I thought, okay, today, if it's okay with everyone, no jacket. No?
Okay naman. It's a welcome change, Attorney, 'di ba? You surprise us, ika nga, no, 'di ba? O 'di ba? So, malamig ngayon, pero lately, medyo nag-dip down ng konti, pero syempre iba pa rin, malamig pa rin, no? Maski paano. Okay. Yeah. Well, so it's more of the nag-heating ka na diyan sa kung saan ka naroon. At siyempre, papawisan ka, no? Ayaw ka naman pawisan dahil kung nag-show tayo at medyo may dinidiscuss ka, uy, teka muna, hindi ko na-i-flash yung ating topic. Teka muna, bago ang lahat, bago tayo magpatuloy sa chikahan natin, meron ho tayong topic dito, no? Ito ho yung topic natin. Ayan, immigration and marrying in the UK. Pag-aasawa, gano'n? Pag-aasawa. It is one of the paths. Go ahead.
It's a happy topic, no?
Oy, wow.
So just happy Thursday, happy topic, no?
Okay.
So it's which is good, diba?
Falling in love.
Nice to say. Absolutely, falling in love. And it's great to have it's a good wedding. You can't beat a good wedding, no? It's always romantic pa rin.
Well, that's nice. Siyempre, di ba? Yes, love makes the world go around, di ba? People are inspired. Sa dati wala siyang walang kabuhay-buhay, biglang nabuhay dahil na-inspire sa isang pag-ibig, Ikaw, dyan sa immigration, Attorney, how would you like, if you will put a percentage doon sa mga how would you call it, cases ba or situations na na-handle mo sa immigration, ang marriage ba, what would you say, or love would be, say, 50% of your, yung pinaka naging casework mo, or 70%, 10%, 20%? Kaakibat niya ng love kasi.
Yeah. A fair proportion can be on basis now of marriage, of relationships, which is understandable, no? Dahil kumatagal nga ditong tao, it could be that they meet someone and they want to pursue a family life in the United Kingdom. So, a high proportion ng mga kaso ko, it's to do with relationships, and inevitably a big proportion of that also is to do now with partners. They don't have to necessarily be married, but it's marriage applications are relatively common applications nga.
Wow, quite interesting yan, love, kasi getting married, it's also a pathway towards how do you call that, yung word na yun, hindi naman residency, is parang ano, di ba? Yung on a for your yung regularizing your status dito or yung stay dito sa ano, di ba? Sa United Kingdom. It is one of those pathways, di ba? And sometimes well, most often yata yun ang nagiging strategy and they think that the only solution for us to stay here or for me to kunyari yung a person in an individual would think na it's via marriage, no? Parang some of them would think that way, di ba? Kaya nga
It can be, no, but it's obviously not the right way to look at it, no. So I always say to clients, relationship is one thing, and if you have a relationship, kung gusto nyo dito kayo titira, then of course one of the things that you must consider, and you must consider it, is making an application in the UK, especially kung wala kang status or limited leave to remain ka nga dito. But it should not be where you start, no, because it's also not a good premise for a healthy relationship. So if it's the case na meron kang nakilala and it happens to be an issue and you want to make a life nga in the UK, then absolutely you should consider it. Pero hindi yun ang una, no?
Wag yun ang unahin. Wag yun ang isipin.
Wag yun ang unahin yun. Because it's important, of course, that you pursue your family life, no? With the premise that it's something you're doing for love. You want to be with that person, regardless nga of what they can give to you. So it is something you do need to consider, though. So of course, kung dito kayo titira, then yes, you need to consider making an application. Otherwise, you'd have to leave the UK.
Okay. Attorney, tingnan natin kung may mga pagbati tayo dito. Ayan, mga pagbati bago mo discussion topic natin. Good evening po, Attorney and Kuya Sonny from Lorraine Cantos. Ayan,
yes.
Binabati natin.
Hello, Miss
Pinababati. Miss Cantos. Ito, si Neneng. Neneng, pagka napabasa ko yung Neneng, natutuwa ako sa pangalan. Neneng, bakya mo, Neneng. Di ba, mga ganyan, no? Good evening po, sabi ni Neneng Boyose. Ayan, Neneng, good evening.
Hello, Miss Boyose.
Hope you're happy, kasi pagka nanonood kayo rito, ang mga nanonood dito, kailangan happy. Pag hindi ka happy, magiging happy ka. Diba? Okay. Ayan. Janet Stocks, good evening po. Ayun, no? Janet, taga-saan ka, no? Lorraine, taga-saan ka? Neneng, taga-saan ka? Because people, when they message us, kasi kaya ako sinasabi, taga-saan kayo, dahil binabanggit nila kung saan sila nanonood, where they're watching from. Katulad halimbawa nito si Yan Galicia Paner. Sabi niya, watching from Cheltenham po.
Cheltenham.
Ayun. Halimbawa, may isa pang ito, regular natin. At least, talagang mahal na mahal natin ito si Rudy, no? Libro, sabi niya, hi, good evening, Sir Sonny and lovely Attorney Lira. Happy Thursday, all kababayan from Belfast. So yun, the reason why sinasabi ko, Janet, Neneng and Lorraine, dahil ito, kamukha ng mga na-flash natin, they're telling us kung tawag dito, kung saan sila nanonood. Ito, meron na kagad nagtatanong dito. Pero mamaya tayo mag-open forum, magdi-discuss muna si attorney. Pero ito pakita ko lang, pero mamaya mo na sagutin to. Mamaya mo na sagutin to.
So,
ano po ba ang requirements, spouse visa extension po, and ang cost? Thanks in advance. So, mamaya na yan, pag-uusapan natin. I-flash lang kita dahil para lang makita yung mga unang mga bumabate. Ayun. Sumagot naman talaga nanonood, talaga attorney, si Neneng Boyose. Sabi niya, Mill Hill.
Mill Hill. Mill Hill is very nice. No?
Hindi ko alam kung napunta na rin attorney. Baka nadaan ako, saan ba yung Mill Hill? Is it Hertfordshire, Bedfordshire? Ano ba saan ba yan? Surrey?
No, it's London, no? Mill Hill.
Nasa East London, okay.
North, I think.
North London ba? Okay.
I think so. But correct me if I'm wrong, Miss Boyose. I think North London and Mill Hill.
Eto, hindi ko maintindihan. Mukha yata magkapit-bahay to o magkasama sa bahay to. Sabi ni Lorraine Cantos, from Mill Hill, Northwest po, from Batangas in the Philippines. Taga Batangas. Kumusta? Okay, si Queen Loach yung nagtanong, pero mamaya mo na sagutin yun. Watching from Sutton, Coldfield, Birmingham.
Birmingham.
Meron tayong Sutton dito, sa malapit sa atin dito. Pero may, di ba, may Sutton dito? Pero ito pala, Sutton Coldfield sa Birmingham. Ayan. Yung best, ano yung taga-dala sa iyo ng ano ba mga kakanin ba yun? O si MM. Hi, good evening po.
Miss Giling.
Oh, si Miss Giling. Oh,
Yeah, Miss
Happy
Giling.
Thursday, Miss Sir Sunny and Ma'am Lira. Oy, good evening.
Happy
Okay.
Thursday po, Miss Giling.
Happy Thursday, Miss Giling, no? Oo. Nakakatawa ang kanyang surname, no? Para akong naalala ko yung laro natin ng bata tayo, no? No, yan ang si Miss Giling. Teka muna, baka may basahin ko lang 'tong mga ano. Hindi pa pumapasok 'tong mga messages ng iba, no? Ayan, di ko na nasa na ba tayo? Medyo watching. Meron kasi sometimes may mga messages na ano. Batiin lang natin, attorney. Batiin ko lang si hindi natin Jonathan Orenzo. Good evening. This is the first time name that you hear, no? Jonathan Orenzo. Rowena Guevara Anareta. Hindi kaya Araneta to? Ba't binaligtad yata? Anareta. Guevara Anareta. Alam mo yung Araneta, di ba? Sa Pilipinas, yung Araneta Coliseum. Pero ito baliktad Imbis na Araneta, Anareta. Oo, hindi kaya nagkamali baka kamag-anak nila yung mga Araneta sa Pilipinas, no? Levi Saison Olayan, no? Betty Baltasar, good evening. Ganda ng name niya, Francis Louis Mendiola. Good evening, no? Francis. Pangalan to? Betty Respicio Bartolome, attorney, no? Nanonood sa atin. Mabuhay kayo kung saan kayo nanonood, no? Magparamdam kayo para at least malaman namin kung taga saang part ng... So we'd know, no, which part of the UK you're from. And if you're from outside of the Philippines, outside of the UK, malaman din natin, no? Marami tayong mga viewers from different parts of Europe and the world, no? Si Jeremy Aquino, Jeremy. Mabuhay, yan. Nanonood siya sa atin. Isidro Bagongon. Ito, grupo, may mga grupo si Red they call him, Isidro, Red, ano ba tawag kay Red? They have an organization dito, mga ano nga ba organization na Red? Hindi ko matandaan. Pero this is a leader, Philcom leader dito, attorney, si Isidro Bagongon. Hindi ko alam kung nandito na siya. Alam ko nasa Pilipinas siya Rosenda Laureano Sotelo. Ayan, good evening. Joe Cruz. Cynthia Hugo. Si Joe Cruz ba to? Yung ating kaibigan, no? Ng mga Friday Club. Kelly Paalan and Nay Jeneline siguro to. Atabal. Shiraf. Ganda naman ang pangalan to. George Talo. George Talo. Si Uncle George Talo. Ayan. Si Ma'am Cora Carsola. Ito yung mga regulars natin. They really love us, attorney.
Yeah.
Si Cora Carsola. Ayan. Jessfel Syria Rivera Ubaldo. Yan. Good evening. Mercy Ornido Flores. Richard J. Waters. Richard J. Waters. Lynn Regalado. Ayan. Si Marlene Dizon. Marlman. Ayun. Siguro, ayan na muna ang babasahin natin. Mamaya, tignan natin itong mga continuation. In the meantime, attorney, we'll have a short break. Tapos, i-discuss mo yung topic natin for tonight, di ba? Yung, ano ba ang pangalan itong topic natin? Immigration and marrying in the UK. Ayan. So, ayan ang topic ko natin.
So, again, another big topic and very interesting one. So, join us, please. Don't go away.
Sige, don't go away. Saglit lang ho. Isang bandali Okay. At kami ho ni attorney ay magbabalik, no? Saglit po lamang. Huwag ko kayong alis.
During these trying times, we salute the frontliners who are tirelessly caring for all of us against the COVID-19. To all the courageous nurses, doctors, carers, and paramedics at the NHS, words are not enough to thank you. We at Highlight Express International are here to support you back with a full semester 10% discount when you send your balikbayan boxes to your family in the Philippines. Dahil ang Highlight Express International ay para sa pamilya.
Okay, balik ho tayo sa ating program. Kasama natin siyempre, walang iba kundi yung pinakamamahal nating abogada, no? Si Attorney Lira Simon CABATBAT. She makes our Thursday happy. Ayan, happy Thursday, Attorney, once again.
Happy Thursday po ulit.
Ay, bago ka mag-discuss sa topic natin, basahin ko lang yung mga pahabol natin, mga kasamahan lang dito, no? Gusto ko lang acknowledge siyempre to si Edgardo Cagastian, no? One of our siguro regular ito, talagang avid na kasamahan natin to.
Yeah.
Nonood sa atin, oy, asa na ba hindi yata na i-flash yung pangalan nila. Teka muna, inahanap natin asa yung kanilang mga pangalan. Ito yata yun. Ayun, yan, bumabati siya sa atin, Attorney. Yan, regular natin, no? Actually, I think he was the one. He was the guy who coined the word happy, kunyari, happy Tuesday, happy Thursday. No, siya si Edgardo, mabuhay. Mabuhay ka, no, Edgardo. And sino pa ba itong mga si attorney, itong si Boyose, sabi niya, Attorney Lira, si Vilma Boyose po to. Kuya, good evening po. Blessed Thursday.
Yes.
Vilma daw siya.
Yeah,
Vilma.
sorry, and my apologies. Dahil tinignan ko, akala ko ang pangalan nga, Neneng Boyose. But actually, no, of course, hello, Miss Boyose. Nice to see you.
So Boyose ang pangalan niya, Boyose.
Boyose, yeah.
Yan talagang tunay na apelyido niya. Boyose. So yung Boyose, parang lang yan, screen name niya. Parang siguro may balak mag-artista to si Vilma. Dahil Vilma pangalan Di ba? Nora Aunor, Vilma Santos. So ayan ang yan ang mga relationship niya.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Kilala mo yan? Okay. Good.
Yeah. She's lovely. Yeah.
Ito naman, bumabati sa atin si Jonathan Orenzo. Siya ang unang nanood today. Yan.
Hello.
Lumalabas kasi kagad ko sino yung nagkakaroon tayo ng record of who are the first people who would watch us, no? Ito si Jonathan Orenzo ang number 1 today.
Salamat po.
Salamat, Jonathan, no? This is the first time you've read his name, di ba? Ngayon lang natin nabasa yan, di ba? First time yan.
Yeah, I think so. First time nga.
Daisy Esguera, evening from Chigwell po. Ayan, bumabati sa atin. At meron pa siyang parang ito favorite niya tong lumalabas sa atin to, Attorney. Kaya lang sa akin lumalabas, nagtatabi kami, Kung lang nila yakapin ko tong nasa tabi ko, Attorney, no.
Nakikita mo ba ang picture niya? She's gorgeous.
Ay, beauty queen yan, Attorney. She's a beauty queen.
That explains it.
Explains it. She's won a lot of mga beauty contests, beauty pageants, no? So, she's a really, and combination of beauty and brains. And I guess she's, kung merong interesting job yan, kung just to let you know siguro, parang, information, parang, nag-aaral ng parang, hindi ko alam kung gemology, they can look at mga alahas, kanyari, mga gold, diamond, whatever, so it's a specialty in a way, no? Na pag-aralan niya, So kung siguro, I don't know, not everybody probably is taking that up here in the UK, pero siya, talagang yan ang kanyang pinag-aralan. So, ayan, Attorney, sige, you'll have the floor now. Ikaw na itong to discuss yung ating, ating topic na pag-uusapan ho ngayon. Ito ho yung topic natin. At yan, di-discuss ho ni Attorney. Attorney, sige, take it away.
Okay. Now, again, thank you very much for joining us this happy Thursday. So, pag-uusapan natin nga ngayon, immigration and marrying in the United Kingdom, which is, of course, it's a happy topic, I would say. Now, The things, however, to look out for are numerous. If you don't have leave to remain or you have limited leave to remain. So let's look at it really from the top now. And this, of course, has to apply to both of you. Now, first thing to consider is, are you free to marry? So kung kasal kayo sa atin o kahit saan, no? And you have not obtained a divorce, then you need to obtain a divorce. Kahit matagal na kayong hiwalay, it doesn't mean that the marriage is null and void just because you're separated for a long time. You still need to get a divorce. It doesn't matter how long you have been separated. Now, so that's the first thing really. You need to make sure nga that you're both free to marry. If you marry, but you're already married, ibig sabihin, your second marriage, or your current marriage, would then be null and void. So it's treated as if it's never taken place. So magiging problema yon, of course, if you then make an application for leave to remain in the United Kingdom or indeed from outside the UK. So the last thing you want is to marry and then find that actually it's not valid. So that's the first thing to look at. No? Now, assuming you are both British citizens, so if you both naturalized British citizens, so before Pinoy kayo, tapos you then obtain a naturalization and now you're British, or indeed dual, no problem if both of you are British. Now, next thing is if you have what's called indefinite leave to remain. So kung residente na nga kayo dito, again, both of you, again, no problem. Now, another possibility is, of course, if you are EU nationals. Now, we've recently Brexited, so you need to also be careful if you're an EU national. Now, it depends then if you are, you may have already permanency here, that is under the settlement scheme, for example, if you have settled status or indeed pre-settled status. Either way, you can also marry in the UK. So if you're both that, again, not a problem. Now, however, it becomes to be, for want of a better phrase, it becomes a problem, or you need to start considering things more closely if you have what's called limited leave to remain, or kaya if you don't have a visa at all. So you don't have a leave to remain in the United Kingdom. Now, sabihin natin estudyante kayo, no? Kung estudyante ka, or indeed a skilled worker route, under the old tier 2, so any leave to remain in the UK under the points-based system, which is just limited nga, then you have what they call limited leave to remain in the UK, which means that you need to work a little bit harder when you're looking to marry, and I'll take you through the process in a moment. Now, however, if you don't have a visa, so sabihin natin overstayer na kayo dito sa UK, then that becomes more of an issue, and that has an added complication. So let's concentrate now on those two things. Now, but before anything, let me take you through the process. Now, this process pretty much applies to anyone, looking to marry in the UK. So the first thing is you need to go to you need to give a statement to your local registrar of your intention to marry. So for want of a better phrase, they normally call that giving notice to marry. You need to give at least 29 days notice before the ceremony. So if you give notice now on the 1st of January, then you can, the earliest you can marry would then be the 30th of January. Now, and then you also need to hold your ceremony within 12 months of you giving notice. You have plenty of time. Now, fees for giving notice, it's usually £35 per person. If you don't have a visa or you have limited leave to remain, that goes up by a little bit to £47 per person. Now, where do you give notice? You need to give notice to your local registrar. So, where do you live? And that's where the local registrar is. Now, if you're not living together, then you have different registrars effectively. You need to elect where you want to marry if you're going for a civil wedding, for example. Now, it becomes a bit more complicated kung wala kang ang visa or you have limited leave to remain. So, yung pag-usapan natin, let's concentrate on those two things. If you don't have a visa, or you're, say, a student, or kaya a visa under the points-based system, or indeed any kind of limited status nga in the United Kingdom, then you need to be referred to what's called a designated registrar. designated registrars are essentially they're trained to say spot sham marriages. You know? If they have concerns, then they will certainly make that clear to the Home Office. Either way, may problema sila o may concern sila o wala, they still will inform the immigration authorities of your intention nga to marry. Now, and that may trigger quite a few things. So now, where you get designated registrars are not everywhere. So, for example, there's a list actually on the Home Office website. I mean, not far from us in the office. The closest one to Richmond would be the Kingston upon Thames designated registrar. There's also Hounslow, for example. In London itself, there's Camden, there's Kensington. So there's a list nga of designated registrar. So kung alam nyo na wala nga kayong visa o kaya limited leave to remain kayo, then you need, as the first thing really, is just look where your designated registrar is, because that's where you will be referred. If you go to your local registrar, they will simply say to you, you need to actually meet with the designated registrar. Now, don't be afraid. Even though they are, of course, required by law to inform the Home Office of your intention to marry, they're not the Home Office. And essentially, they will ask you some questions nga. So, saan kayo nakatira? No, when did your relationship say started? And hopefully, they will not express nga any concerns. But either way, they are obliged actually to inform the Home Office. Now, when they've done that, no, the Home Office will then make contact with you. The marriage unit of the Home Office will make contact with you. Now, they usually do that by email. So make sure that you give the designated registrar your email, your correct email, no? So that the Home Office can then make contact. Now, if the Home Office make contact with you, things, they will say either, okay, we've been given your intention to marry. We want to investigate, and so we would like we're extending the time that you need to give notice from say 28 days to 70 days. No, just to give them enough time to consider any other factors. Now, it could also be that they are very concerned that they object. It's unusual. Normally they extend it muna, then they investigate, and then if there's a problem, then they may well interview you also in person. Or they may say, that's fine, we're satisfied that it's not a sham marriage, and so, or we have no concerns about the marriage, and therefore it's the 28 days. Sometimes, hindi sila sumasagot. You get no contact at all. Now, in those cases, usually you still need to wait the 70 days. So when you're nearing 70 days, then make contact now with the registrar and say, okay, it's not, we've still not had any contact with the Home Office. Can we get married anyway? You can also try it if you have had no contact after 28 days, because it may well be that the registrar takes the view that, well, unless the Home Office makes contact, then you can be scheduled to marry. Now, things to be careful about. No? Kung wala na nga kayong visa, of course, you're probably concerned that the Home Office may take action nga against you. I mean, one thing that for my clients I sometimes advise, depending of course on the situation nga nila, is if you're so minded, you make an application already to the Home Office, setting out nga your circumstances. So, for example, especially if you're living together already, say 2 years, for example, even frankly less than that, you may want to make that application already to the Home Office on the basis of your relationship. Pagkakasal na kayo, then you need to give, of course, your marriage certificate, and you should really make additional representations nga, and you say to them, now we are married, and then they will consider your application under as being married. Now, the advantage of making an application beforehand is you then give the Home Office nga your documents in advance. So makikita nila that you are indeed in a genuine relationship. So for especially where you have children. So they may be less concerned about the genuineness nga of the proposed marriage. And if that's the case, then they may even say 28 days is fine. But it depends really on the situation nyo. no, and also how quickly you want to get married because of circumstances, perhaps. And some people are quite happy to just wait and see then what happens. Hopefully, there will not be an issue, in which case you simply get married. Once you are married, then especially if you don't have leave to remain in the UK, or you have limited leave to remain in the United Kingdom, then you make your application, obviously on the basis of your marriage. Now, beware, what the legal representations that you make, of course, will depend on your circumstances. So, for example, matagal na ba kayo? No? Meron ba kayong mga anak? No? If you only been together, say less than 2 years, what other circumstances can you put forward? Are there exceptional circumstances? By that I mean, meron bang may sakit ba kayo, o may sakit partner niyo, o meron ba kayong may sakit ba yung magulang niya o magulang mo in the United Kingdom? I mean, if you have children, again, certain things may well be applicable. So certain provisions you should perhaps look at. So there's people may hear of something called Section 55, which says children's best interests need to be looked at as primary consideration, not the only consideration, but the primary one. So human rights, of course, no, family life, Article 8, private life, kung matagal na nga kayo dito. Of course, there's what's called Appendix FMEX1. That is, if you are in the UK already, and there are what's called insurmountable obstacles to pursue a family life outside the United Kingdom. All those things, of course, you need to submit in support now of your application, having already married. The important thing really is be organized, no, and structure. Yeah? There's no point, again, I've said this before in previous broadcasts now, but there's truly no point giving the Home Office, say, 100 photos of your wedding. You know? They want more than that if you're making an application pursuant to marriage. Having said that, no, do take photos, you know, or when you marry. Apart from the fact that it's nice memento, it's also useful evidence nga for the Home Office. If there are people there, your witnesses nga, it also may be nice to be able to get say a letter in support nga from them, and any documents nga to show that the relationship was ongoing even before, of course, the marriage. So if you were living together, you know, tenancy agreement, man ganon. But the important thing is get the first thing done. That is, organize yourselves and, of course, get married. And do not think na just because wala nga kayong visa dito that you cannot marry. It's a common misconception, actually. I hear that all the time from clients that I see. They didn't think that they could marry dahil wala nga silang status dito. You can marry in the UK. It's just there's certain things, of course, that you need to just be concerned about and address about and prepare for when you're making when you're marrying and making an application pursuant to marriage, either in the United Kingdom or from outside the UK if you're leaving the UK after marriage. So I suppose the moral of this story is be organized, no, and be prepared also to answer any questions that the designated registrar may ask you, and then proceed with it. No, if you want to marry, you want to pursue a family life in the UK, absolutely, you should do that. But if you are at all concerned, no, kung ninervyos nga kayo, hindi nyo alam kung saan kayo mag-uumpisa, seek advice. You should be clear about your legal standing, especially kung wala nga kayong visa o ang visa nyo is limited leave to remain. Because the last thing you want is, of course, for issues to come about once the Home Office have you in their sights. No? So beware, but do it if that's something that you want to do. But seek advice.
Ayan, okay, seek advice. Ayun, dalawang categories, no visa at saka merong ano, no? May visa, may okay. Leave to remain, ika nga. Okay. Well, kailangan pa na ng photos, it would be nice, no? Talagang to show na nandoon kayo, no? Nakikita na meron talagang a real wedding that happened, no? Pero mas mahal, no? Parang dumoble ang presyo ng pag walang leave to remain. 75 pounds ang babayaran, attorney?
No, 47.
47 ba? Akala ko 47.
Oh,
Yung merong
yeah, 47.
pero 35 per
35.
person kung may leave to remain, ganun ba?
Yeah. So, if you have no issues, well, kung British ka o EU ka o kaya indefinite ka, it's usually 35 pounds per person nga, no? So yeah, no time it's yeah, of course it's 70 pounds. If you have limited leave to remain in the UK, then it would be 47 pounds per person, no? Which actually is not it's not a bad price when you compare to say applications. So if you bear in mind nga sabihin natin wala kang visa ngayon, no? And you make an application for regularization of your leave to remain. Ang kailangan mo ibayad sa Home Office is £1,052.20 for the application nga lang, plus the IHS, your contribution nga to the NHS, and that works out at £624 per year. So approximately nga £1,560 for the 2.5 years that you're seeking. So ang pagbayad nga lang sa Home Office, and actually this answers partly the question of Miss Queen Loach. So ang pagbayad nga sa Home Office, £1,052.20 plus the £1,560. So already in excess of obviously £2,500. No, so it's not a cheap undertaking. By no means. So if you compare that with the 35 pounds per person, it's a small price.
When you go there, no, there's a designated registrar. Ano ba yan? Do they interview you straight away? O, find, di ba, kinakausap ka ba? O hindi? Is it granted on the day that you arrive? They give you that, is it license, marriage license? Hindi naman certificate, license yan to marry. Di ba? Giving you about 12 months within which to marry. Paano ba sistema niyo? When you go to the designated, on the day itself or a few days after, they tell you can marry now. Is it, kasi ang certificate is a marriage certificate. It's when you get married. It's just but license is parang abstract yan, di ba? Parang hindi. So when do they tell you that you can marry? A few days after application? Do they send you a letter? Ganyan. Paano yan?
Yeah. So it depends really kung meron kang visa or you have limited leave to remain. So if you are if you're British nga dito, usually you need to just give notice the 29 days and then you can have your ceremony. So they
okay. So notice and then your 30 days. Pero you're given until a maximum of 1 year, parang ganun 12 months, no? Sabi mo?
Yeah, to use it.
Use it, yes.
It's a slightly different process nga kung wala kang visa o kaya limited leave to remain ka. Then the Home Office gets involved. Whereas kung British ka, then the Home Office do not get involved in any way. If you're both British, of course, no. So if you have limited leave to remain nga o wala kang visa, then the Home Office will be informed by the designated registrar of your intention to marry. No? So they'll likely email them and they will say, okay, this couple want to marry. This one of them, or indeed both of them, wala siyang status or limited leave to remain, and they will probably comment whether or not they have concerns nga. And then the Home Office will in turn make contact with you. That's why I said nga before, if you they normally make contact by email. So siguraduhin nyo nga yung email nyo na tamang-tama, no? Because the last thing you want, of course, is that they have an incorrect email and you don't get notice of what they want to do or to say. So then either you have to wait the 28 days or they extend it, most of the time they extend it to 70 days.
Pero yung attorney, after 1 year, say for example, hindi nyo kinasal na tuloy, and then say within for some, siguro may dramang nangyari, tampuhan and so on and so forth, na parang ayaw nang ituloy siguro isang spouse, isang partner, eventually, umabot ng lagpas ng 1 year and they decide, talaga we love each other. Wala na yan, paso na yan, they'll have to reapply again.
Yeah, but that's not the usual, kung wala namang problema sa visa, that's usually not a problem. It could, however, be a problem. Sabihin natin, wala kang status, no? Tapos, you plan to marry and you then meet with the designated registrar and wala namang problema, it's a genuine relationship. The designated registrar informs the home office, ito nga, this is the intention that you and your partner want to marry. Tapos may mangyari, sabihin natin, no? So the relationship breakdown, say. The problem then is, of course, the designated registrar would have informed the home office of your intention to marry and your details nga. No? So that can cause a problem because in the meantime, sabi mo na sa home office, nandito ako. No? So it is, again, one of those things that you need to be prepared for. I mean, but mind you, if you're taking the step now of getting married, it's obviously a serious relationship already, and it's very unusual for things then to break down, because of what's happened though. So absolutely beware, it can be a concern.
Okay, attorney, we're gonna have a short break today now, and then pagbalik natin, we're gonna be opening our may open forum na tayo, no? Pwede ho kayong magtanong pagbalik ko natin. So ready ka na? Mukhang marami tayong mga tanong na naka-line up dyan eh. So wag ko kayong alis, no? Mabilis lang to. Magbe-break lang at pagbalik na namin, we're gonna be entertaining your questions. Wag ko kayong alis, saglit po lamang.
Mula noon hanggang ngayon, serbisyong mapagkakatiwalaan, serbisyong maaasahan pagdating sa inyong mga padalang balikbayan boxes. Dito ka na sa Forex Cargo. Sa presyong kayang-kaya ng bulsa, sigurado ka pa sa inyong padala. Forex Cargo. Dahil kailangan makarating. Call 0208-813-7064. O ano pang inaantay niyo mga kabayan? Tayo na sa Forex Cargo.
Okay, ito na ho kami, nagbabalik dito sa ating Immigration Corner on a happy Thursday. Siyempre, kasama natin yung ating resident immigration advisor and expert. Walang iba kundi si Attorney LIRA CABATBAT. Ayan ho, nakikita nyo katabi ko. Ayan. Okidoki. Attorney, basahin ko yung mga pagbati at questions na. No? Sisimulan natin. So, open na tayo. Ha? Okay. Ito, hindi lang lumabas to sa ating system, pero batiin ko lang to si Verna Sonu. Sabi niya, hello, kuya. Kumusta na? No? Bumabati sa atin. Okay, tuloy lang natin yung some of the pagbati rito. Ito, attorney, ayan, mukhang galit siya na itong gabi na ito. Kasi parang, ano ba sabi? Ito, asa na ba yun? Yung ating...
Sinong galit sa atin?
Ito, galit eh, kasi naka-all cap siya eh. Parang gusto niya ipaalam na, sabi niya, good evening at Sonny and Attorney LIRA, happy Thursday again. And you're both looking great. Ayun, thank you.
Miss Rafael.
Love na love natin yan, si Emeline Rafael. Pag nakita mo yan, maganda ang buhok niyan. Kung ang buhok natin, pagkagaganda, mas lalong maganda ang buhok niyan. Si Emeline Rafael.
Nakikita mo nga dyan. So, she's lovely. Yeah.
In fact, para siyang younger version ni Janela, sino itong artista ito? Na-interview namin nung isang araw, Janela Salvador. Para siyang, parang ate lang siya, gano'n, ang version niya. No? Si Janela, mga ilang taon na ba si Janela? Mga 20s yata o teens. So yeah, good evening Emeline ha. Napaka-bait yan at natin one of our pag wala ka at hindi ka nakita ng live niya, nagagalit yan eh. Kailangan nakikita ko, ganun siya katindi. Nagme-message yan eh. Okay. Watching from si Charity Montenegro Orsales, attorney, watching from Sheffield Teaching Hospitals NHS Foundation Trust. Wow. Good evening Charity ha. Ayan. Charity Orsales.
Ingat. Yeah.
Ingat. Dahil frontliners, pero mga frontliners, I think, attorney, na nagkakaroon sila ng mga vaccinations, di ba? So, maski paano, well, in a way, parang shielded na rin sila, pero hindi naman dapat na porke ganun, it gives you a false sense of security na basta-basta ka nang, di ba, you will, hindi mo nasusundin yung mga, yung wearing mask, social distancing, washing hands, kailangan gawin pa rin natin yan. Mary Fairbank, kaibigan natin, she celebrated her birthday recently, Happy birthday, belated, Marie, She celebrated her 18th birthday. Oo. Ito teka muna, bago natin ipasok ang question ni Charity, yung nagtanong kanina. Sabagay, nasagot mo na yata yung nasagot mo na, di ba? Okay na yan. Okay na yan.
Yeah, nasagot ko lang yung second part, but not the first part. So I should answer also the first part.
Sige, go ahead, attorney.
Okay. So, ang tanong ni Miss Loach, in two parts actually. So, spouse application, anong kailangan? And then the cost. And then the cost, I've answered I've answered already in relation to if you don't have leave to remain. Actually, it doesn't matter really. You have leave to remain or not. If you're making an application in the United Kingdom, the cost is slightly different if it's an application from outside the UK. And generally, application fees are paid in dollars. I don't frankly know why it's paid in dollars, but it is. So it also depends on exchange rates, but it's about the same amount. Now, anong kailangan nga if you're making an application as a spouse? Now, there's actually a little bit more to it. It's a very good question because there are different scenarios potentially. Now, it depends on, firstly, are you making an application in country or out country? Or meron ka bang visa dito? Or not, no? So, if you're making an application nga in country and meron kang visa, then you need to be able to provide, of course, genuine, show that it's a genuine relationship, that indeed you are married, yung marriage certificate nyo. To prove genuine, to show genuineness of relationship, it would be things like kung nagsama nga kayo, then maybe council tax, no? Bank statements, if you have joint accounts now, for example, that would be helpful. Bills, no? Anything to show really that you're living together. Now, you don't, of course, have to be living together in order to marry in the United Kingdom. But if you do not have immigration issues, then it's generally, again, not necessarily a concern. Now, if however you do not have a visa in the UK, then there are other things that you should potentially add if you can. So one thing that I always have issues with is kung walang status yung kliyente ko, normally, not always, but normally, they also don't have formal documents. So bank statements can be a bit of a problem. Council tax, even bills can be a bit of an issue. So you have to see what else you can provide. So it can be things like photographs, for example. Kung nagsasama nga kayo, you went on holiday together to Cornwall, photos then, maybe letters also from friends and family. It could also be that you're living together. Yung nga lang you're living together, say at his mother's house or his parents' house or indeed your parents' house. So maybe something from them. So you have to be a bit more. You have to think outside the box, no? Ano pang pwedeng yung pakita nga out if you don't have formal documents. So it depends very much on what type of anong status mo. As to what you need to be able to show as if you're making an application as a spouse. Now, it sometimes also depends on sabihin natin may problema ka nga dito, and then you had to leave the UK and you make an application from, say, the Philippines to come back into the UK as a spouse. Now, if you were asked to leave the UK and you say you appealed and you were not successful with your appeal, an additional thing is you need to address it. Kung may problema nga doon, if the issue is say income nga, you have to address it because the Home Office will know that you've had not just a refusal but also dismissal of appeal. So you need to deal with it. So the Miss Loach question is actually quite interesting. And it can encompass quite a lot of things, and it's it's a very usual
right.
problem.
Encompassing pala. It will
And so it's
encompass
good.
sa many,
Yeah.
no? Oo. Okay. Uy,
Yeah.
loaded tayo ngayong gabi, attorney, ha? So, so, some of them, wag ho kayong baka may some of your questions o some yung mga pagbati ho, baka hindi ho namin na i-flash kasi may in-explain ko lang, napipili din ho ng system namin, no? So, some might be there na nagbumate, or nagtanong, hindi ho natin ma-flash. Pasensya na, no? Hindi ho namin kasalanan ni attorney. Let's make our Thursday happy. Sana it doesn't spoil your watching, your enjoyment of our program. Okidoki, attorney, si Juliet Alviedo Marcelino, attorney, she's watching us, no? Dori Makatangkop. Alam mo, nakakatuwa ka din. Sometimes nagbabasa tayo ng mga pangalan dito. Ang dami ng mga apelidong mga nakakatuwa, no? Ayun, nakakatuwa. Bino mo, nurse siguro. I don't know kung yung nurse kanina, si Charity, working siya live, watching siya from the Sheffield, di ba? Nanonood siya, no?
Yes, nice.
Oo.
Yeah.
Mylene Season, is watching. Zaira May is watching us. May questions yan, no? Hindi ko alam kung nag-flash dyan. Checking ko lang, attorney, kung nag-flash, kung nandiyan sa system, kung nakasama siya. May questions si Charity, Ito, i-flash natin tong question ni Charity.
Okay.
Ayan, ang question ni Charity, attorney, is this. Sabi niya, question, if the guy is an EU citizen who has indefinite leave to stay and the girl is a Filipino citizen who came across to UK from having a tourist visa in here, can they still get married in the UK? Parang tourist, ano ba tawag dyan? Visit visa, no? Parang ganyan, no? Visitor's visa.
Visit visa nga dito.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. The problem with tourist visas is it does not actually allow you to marry in the UK unless it is specifically, you can get a visit visa to, in fact, marry in the United Kingdom. But I have a feeling na yung tourist visa is the general visit visa nga. So that on its own does not permit nga marriage. So it goes back to the same thing, designated registrar. So let's just break it down. So EU citizen nga yung lalaki dito. So he has indefinite leave to remain. Otherwise, he has settled status in the UK. Probably applied under the settlement scheme because, of course, now we've Brexited. And his fiance is Filipino nga, Pinay siya, from the Philippines, and she has at the moment a visit visa in the UK. Now, she would be treated a bit like nga an overstayer. No? And so they will still need to go to the designated registrar. Designated registrar will, of course, be concerned, will need to inform the Home Office of their intention also to marry. So, the quick answer is yes, they can still marry in the United Kingdom, but they just have to be careful because, of course, she's going to be treated as either limited leave to remain or indeed no leave to remain, no, because she has a visit visa only in the United Kingdom. So it would be going to the designated registrar, but it's still a possibility.
Okay. Ayan, ito, bumabati okay, so yan, nasagot niya, no? Imelda Hintay Fernandez, bumabati sa atin ng hello. Sandali lang. Okay. Sabi ni Daisy S. Guerra dito, attorney, your advice and topic is very interesting and help you to all the viewers. No? Very helpful yan. Very well said. More power,
Salamat.
Attorney Lira. Ayun.
Salamat po.
Sa nagkaganyan siya ngayon, sabi niya, kita mo, sabi niya, yan, ayun. Kaya katabi kami. Gustong-gusto akong tabihan itong kanyang avatar ba tawag dyan? Okay. Okay, may tanong dito. Basahin ko lang. Kailangan siguro yung mga pagsunod-sunod ng we cannot jump the queue para baka sabihin, di ba, pag binasa natin. Kailangan sunod-sunod lang, no? Okay, so Stephen Garion, nanonood sa atin, attorney. At Stephen, mabuhay. Imelda Hintay Fernandez, nag-hello sa atin si Imelda ngayon. Elsa Prado is watching with you, no? Lynn Glossop is watching sa atin. Nanonood. Lynn Glossop, hello. Imelda Hintay, pwede po bang mag-ask ng question? Siyempre, of course, pwede ka mag-ask ng question.
Of course.
No? Joan Talino Tropio, mabuhay. MR May Magpuyo de Mata, nanonood siya sa atin. Lou Borbon, Rachel Uwida Villanueva. Ayan. Ito na yung tanong ngayon. May tanong si Imelda, hindi lang natin ma-flash, no? Sabi ni Imelda, attorney, ako po ay 10 years granted privately life rules expire next month. Maka-renew pa ba ako kasi umalis ang alaga ko dito sa UK? Ano ibig sabihin nun? Privately rule life. Ako
Okay.
po ay 10 years granted privately life rules. I'm just reading as is, attorney. I'm trying to
no,
make
that's
out
fine.
kung paano, pero no. Privately life rules expire next month. Maka-renew pa ba ako
Yeah.
kasi umalis ang alaga ko dito sa UK? Ayan. Yan muna.
Yeah. I'm guessing ang background nga ito, no? So 10 years ago, or near enough 10 years ago, nabigyan si Imelda ng visa under private life or indeed family life. So it's under the 10-year route. So siguro unang-una she probably had issues nga initially nga with immigration and was then given leave to remain in the UK, if you like, no, exceptionally under private family life. So unang-una nearly 10 years ago. So she then got an extension after 2.5 years, another extension after 2.5 years, and then soon magte 10 years na nga siya dito. Now, usually under that kind of visa, after 10 years or shortly before the 10 years is up, you can then make an application actually for indefinite leave to remain, so for settlement status. Now, the problem is, kung wala na yung alaga nga niya dito, then the basis of the grant originally, under say private family or family life, the Home Office may say, wala na. Dahil wala na din yung alaga nga niya dito. For whatever reason. Now, you of course need to still make an application, Imelda. That has to be the case, no? And if you're nearly clocking up the 10 years, you should still make an application for indefinite leave to remain. Now, when you make the application, then you can emphasize, kahit wala na nga dito yung alaga mo, there's been a change of circumstances, no? You need to emphasize the other factors. So it could be that you have established a family life with someone else, no? Or indeed if you have other children nga in the UK na lumaki na nga sila dito. And of course, 10 years, so 10 years ago, your private life, because may not have been as strong, may not be as strong as it is now, because of course now you're 10 years later. So you've made a life for yourself in the United Kingdom, and that could be employment nga, or if you have a house and you bought that property, or if you have a very strong bond with your employer. So emphasize the things nga that strengthens your private family life in the UK. So you can still make an application. Yung nga lang, it is you need to work a bit harder for it, because of course there's been a change in circumstance. And the Home Office will no doubt pick that up, no? So it's for you to evidence that even though there's been a change of circumstances, your current situation though should still lead to a grant of a visa. And the fact na matagal ka nga dito, 10 years ka na, that certainly is an advantage and a plus point. So also emphasize that. So the answer is you should, no? Certainly don't just leave it, but you should provide evidence as much as you possibly can, and back it up, maybe even with a statement nga, sabihin mo doon why you say that actually you are in a stronger position now than you were 10 years ago.
Ayan. Okay. Nagre-research ako dito sa kung ano, hindi ko alam kung ito sa next question natin, attorney, may nagtatanong dito ano ba to, Sheila Riz Sadenyo, no? Pero I don't know, this is within the province na ang ating sa niya to, kailangan i-check mo yung yung ano pangalan nun? Ito attorney, no? May tanong siya. Hi po. Sabi niya, are you recommending mga Filipino citizens not to travel back to the Philippines at the moment due to lack of quarantine facilities, as I am planning on returning to the Philippines from the UK next month? Wala tayong masyadong idea pa yata.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Yeah.
immigration
Yeah,
yata, no? Okay lang ba?
yeah, no, pag-usapan din natin.
Sige,
Kasi
pag-usapan din natin. Hindi ko masyadong alam. Hindi ko.
Yeah.
Oo.
Yeah, it's a practical question rather than, I suppose, a legal one, no, Mr.
Okay.
But it's a very good question to ask also, no. And the answer, I suppose, is it depends really kung anong situation nyo. It's probably generally not a good idea to travel anywhere, no. Dahil hindi nga natin alam kung ano mangyayari na nga with this virus. There seem to be mutations nga. Of course, even the UK, of course we have no control about the quarantine laws, provisions, how that's going to change. Higpit ba, or is it going to be relaxed, for example? And certainly it doesn't even have to be the Philippines. It can be anywhere really. They may change also the legal requirements of being there or leaving that country. So on a practical level, if you don't have to, I'm saying to clients, if you don't have to travel nga, it's probably not a good idea to do so. Also, it's a question of safety. Limiting traveling is probably a safer route rather than traveling. So unless you have to travel, I personally would not travel unless I really need to. Sometimes you can't help it though, no?
Okay, all right. Yes. Okay, yeah. So, yeah, thank you for that question, no. Clarissa Cedeño, 'yon. Pinaghihiwalay pa niya yung pangalan niya, Clarissa Cedeño. May tanong si Marinel Oyahimle, no. Basahin ko lang dito. Sabi niya, in the meantime, bago ko anihin yan, batiin ko lang sila. Amira Guest, Josenia Canosa, Ulan, HS, Maki Bacus, Lynn Yates, Ares Mars Mosquito, ganda naman ang apelyido nito, Paul Gosling, no? Si Salibel Bataon, Letiz Catanriz, and Merly Alicame, Alice in Wonderland. Ang ganda naman ang kanyang pangalan, Alice in Wonderland.
No.
Simplicia Salumbides, alam mo naman di ba? Pag Facebook, kung ano mga pangalan pwede, no? Ana Okulam, ayan. Okay. Ito may tanong si yung ating regular na viewer dito, si Ohayamhie Marinels. Sabi niya, may kaugnayan doon sa topic na dinidiscuss natin, about marriage, no? Marrying in the UK. Paano pag natapos ang hearing at nakita nila na genuine ang relationship, for example, at pauwiin muna ang partner sa bansa niya? Ano ang best? Uuwi ba o hindi? Kasi utos ng home office. May pa eh.
Oh.
What do you think? Would you advise umuwi siya o hindi? Ganon.
So may hearing na. I mean that's the let's start with that. Kung may hearing na, ibig sabihin they've had a refusal, no? And then they've appealed against it. Tapos it's gone before, say, the first tier tribunal. Yung nga sabi niya may hearing na nga. So at the first tier tribunal, at the hearing, after the hearing, and you've given evidence, it can only be really one of two things. Either the appeal is allowed or the appeal is dismissed. If the appeal is dismissed, but the relationship was accepted to be genuine, then you have a choice. You can still challenge that appeal, or if you are not minded to challenge the appeal, then you can go back and make an application from, say, sabihin natin, galing ka sa Pinas, from the Philippines, and use the determination, the successful appeal, to back up the fact that the relationship is genuine. So that would be one possibility. However, if the appeal was successful, the determination is successful, then you don't need to go back, of course. You can just, it will be what's called implemented, yung appeal, and you will be granted leave to remain then in the United Kingdom. So in that event, you don't have to go back. But as I say, if, however, the appeal is dismissed for whatever reason, but genuineness of relationship was accepted, then at least it's a finding of fact that will help you pagka nagpapasok ng application to come back into the United Kingdom. Now, of course, other things, the the judge can look at various things, including they may accept, yeah, the relationship is genuine, but we do not think that there are exceptional circumstances. We do not think that there are insurmountable obstacles. In that event, you need to really see what works for you, no? And also have a look, especially if you have representatives nga, tingnan nyo maigi yung decision. Are there grounds to appeal? No? And if there are grounds to appeal, then you may want to canvass that. But if there are no grounds to appeal and you make the decision nga babalik kayo, then as I say, you can still make use of the determination, because alam naman ng Home Office that you've had a failed appeal, but you should quote and potentially even refer to, but certainly quote that section nga, that the relationship was accepted as genuine. A finding of fact was made about the genuineness of relationship. If you don't want to submit the actual determination for whatever reason nga, you should perhaps make reference to that section in your representations o yung statement nyo. So it can still be useful.
Parang in short, parang sige, andito pa kung meron, if you can exhaust all avenues, so mas dito ka na mag-in-house ka.
Yeah.
Mag-in-country
yeah,
ka.
so so it's
rather than going home.
If you have some,
diba? Tama
yeah,
iba
so,
sinasabi mo.
So the choice is this. Either you parang sa pag nag-appeal nga kayo, there's no maybe, no? The judge will either say, yep, nanalo kayo, o hindi, so natalo kayo. Kung nanalo kayo, then you don't need to even worry about going back unless the Home Office appeal and they're successful. In which case, the decision should simply be implemented. So mabibigyan nga kayo ng visa. Pero kung natalo kayo, then at that point, yeah, you need to consider, are you going back or are you challenging in the UK? It can happen nga that even though the relationship was accepted to be genuine, that it's still the appeal is still dismissed because hindi lang naman yung titignan ng judge, no? So in that event, take advice, no? Are there grounds to challenge the failed appeal, the dismissed appeal, or are there not? If the answer is not, then you can go back, but yun nga, pwede nyo pa rin gamitin nga yung determination, at least that favorable section. And you can certainly say in your statement or in the legal representations, the issue of genuineness of relationship is actually not an issue. A finding of fact was made. The judge said it is a genuine relationship. So you need to only look at the other things. So it can certainly be a helpful, useful, evidence to put forward. So no, but it's actually a very good question because it's also then a question of tactics.
Yeah, tactics yan, tama, no? Jonathan or Orenzo, ito yung unang-una nating viewer. Attorney, how about pinakasalan ko yung girlfriend ko illegally stay siya? Ano yan? Illegally stay siya,
Yeah.
then she get her indefinite stay, and we break up.
Yeah.
Do I need to inform the Home Office? Any chance to void my marriage?
Okay, so
may nakuha ka ba?
just to-
Nasakit para bang ano?
Yeah.
Meron siyang girlfriend tapos
No.
illegally staying na tapos nakakaroon na ng indefinite, nung nagka-indefinite, nag-break up sila. Oh, siguro ayaw niya na, parang ganyan naman, 'di ba? Parang soli mo na yung sing-sing, 'di ba? Minsan parang ayoko na sa iyo, dapat umuwi ka ron dahil 'di ba? Sige, okay. Anong sagot dito, attorney?
Yeah, it happens nga. So Jonathan, so quite it does happen to situation. So sabi nga niya dito, no, kinasal sila, wala siyang visa nung unang-una, yung girlfriend niya. Tapos they hopefully lived happily until now she has indefinite leave to remain, so permanente na nga siya dito. And then they broke up, maybe even divorced. Kailangan ba niya sabihin sa Home Office? Now, unang-una, the Home Office is not interested if the person already has indefinite leave to remain. So it's if however there also if your view or your feeling is that she married you nga just to get a visa, then some people say, well, no, susumbong ko kayo, ganon. I don't know that that's a good idea. Even it's not something that you need to think very seriously about whether or not that's something you want to do, because by the time she got indefinite leave to remain, you would have been together, I would imagine, a minimum of 5 years, especially kung illegal. Well, if she was here without leave to remain, then you may actually be looking at either together 10 years. So it's a long time to be together, and although your feelings are hurt, you need to consider, is it right to say or even to believe that she only used you to have a stay in the UK. If the relationship was ongoing now for 10 years, it's a long time to be in a relationship. It's always a shame now if there's a breakup, but you have to consider whether it's actually right to think na it was because of your immigration nga niya that she entered into the marriage. Probably not, if you've been together for 10 years. And the Home Office will now be interested kung indefinite na nga siya. They may well be interested kung wala pang, if she has limited leave to remain in the United Kingdom. And that's also something that will come up pagka magpapasok na siya ng extension.
Okay, Evangeline Davis dito, pero parang yung question din kanina sa yung sabi niya, just ask lang po, I'm thinking to travel in March sa Philippines. Ano po ngayon ang regulations sa travel? Wala tayo, I don't know, kung may alam tayo, hindi ko masyadong kabisado, no? Pasensya na, Evangeline, ha? Oo. Kilala ko to, kaibigan natin. Taga Milton Keynes yan. Okay, go ahead. Sorry, attorney.
No. Hello, Evangeline. Again, it's the quarantine rules change, dito especially, it was 14 days and it was 10 days and I think now it's 7 days, but by March it could be na bago ulit, because at the moment we're obviously battling mutations, variations nga to the virus, so hindi nga natin alam, and the same goes for the Philippines, that can change from what maybe even one day to the next day depending on the issues. So I say the same thing really. It's a practical thing, I think. Do you really want to? Do you really need to travel? Unang-una. If you really need to travel, then okay, tingnan nyo nga, you should consider the quarantine rules and just general rules about traveling a bit nearer the time. But if you don't need to travel, then I would be concerned about mainly yung health mo, no? So you just need to be careful, Evangeline. I would say, kung hindi mo kailangan magbiyahe, it's probably not a good idea.
Okay. All right. So yeah, Evangeline, mabuhay, taga Milton Keynes, one of the organizers ng Filipino organizations, mga Philcom dyan sa Milton Keynes. During the early years, mga 8, 10, 9, nag-MC tayo dyan na 2 consecutive years, 3 consecutive years. So mabuhay kayo, Evangeline, no? Si Queen Loach, meron siyang sinasabi dito, attorney, na I already have a spouse po. Napika ba natin una? Yung,
I see. Okay.
Just need visa extension po. Tapos sabi niya, sorry, I have leave to remain visa ATM. Ano yan? Leave to remain siguro, visa. Siguro yung visa na leave to remain. To enter.
Sorry.
At the moment, siguro ATM at the moment.
Okay. All right. So I have visa leave to enter. So leave to remain siguro. So nandito na siya. She's done the first, if you like, probationary period, the 2.5 years. And so it's an extension of that visa. My apologies, Ms. Loach. Actually, yung question mo, it was clear that it was my mistake not to have clarified it. So kung mag-extend ka ng visa nga dito, and spouse visa ka na nga, the documents na kailangan mong pakita is very similar, but you still need to satisfy so unang-una income, no? So in the absence of any children, you and your partner, your husband nga, need to satisfy the 18,600. Dahil nandito ka na and you have proper leave to remain in the United Kingdom, yung sweldo mo can be coupled with his to make up the 18,600, una. Now, accommodation also needs to be satisfied as part and parcel of the financial requirements. So kailangan either you renting or you have your own home, but you need to have at least a room that you exclusively use. Now, of course, nandito ka na, so you don't need a TB certificate. However, you still need to show the English requirement. And there's sometimes confusion about this. Now, if you, for example, have a B1 certificate and you used it last time, or an A1 certificate and you used it last time, when you entered the United Kingdom, then you can use actually the same certificates. No? What you cannot do is say get another certificate. So if you didn't use the A1 last time, then you can't use it. But if you've used it already, you can use it again this time around. But B1, of course, you can. B1 is over and above the A1. You can use that. So there's also the English requirement. So just to summarize, Ms. Loach, English requirement, accommodation, financial support, 18,600, and of course, genuineness of relationship. Importante pa rin nga yun. So kailangan yung pakita nga that in the last 2.5 years, nagsasama nga kayo. So it can be things like bank statements, for example, pay slips, no? Tenancy agreement if you're both on the tenancy agreement. So once you satisfy that, then you get another 2.5 years. And once you've accumulated the 5 years, then you can apply for indefinite. Sorry, Sonny, hindi ka namin marinig.
Sorry. May nagtatanong dito sa akin eh. Ikaw ba ay may sweetheart? Wala akong immigration relevance yun, ano? Kasi love kasi pinag-uusapan, marriage kasi. May sweetheart daw ba ako? Nako, secret. Okay. Si attorney ang tatanungin natin si attorney. Okay. Attorney, may tanong dito si Kerf Terry. Okay. Ang tanong niya, sabi niya, ayan, di ba lumabas? Ayun, good evening po.
Oo.
Pwede po bang mag-switch from 10 years route, FLR, FP, to 5 years route, FLRM. Naku, masyadong technical yan. And when is the right time to apply kung mag-switch ng route? Thank you very much. Yan. So may FLRP, FP, M. Ganun. Oh, sige, attorney, yeah.
Yeah, it's actually again another good question, no? Because it's something that I deal with relatively regularly. So sabihin natin, so nakakuha kayong visa under the 10-year route. So sabihin, usually the situation is wala nang status una, but you satisfied the Home Office that it's a genuine relationship, and it would not be right to for you to leave the United Kingdom to pursue family life elsewhere, sabihin natin nga Pinas, no? So you then were granted the 2.5 years. Kung hindi nyo papalitan yun, because it was granted outside the normal rules, so not under the usual spouse application nga, spouse conditions, then kailangan yung pakita 2.5 years, essentially times 4 makes up 10 years. So 10 years, no? So that's what Kerf is saying about the 10-year route, FLRFP, no? Because that's the application that would have been submitted, yung form nga, it's called an FLRFP. Now, can you then swap it to an FLRM, basically a spouse visa? And also, is there any point of doing that? Now, kung meron ka ng visa dito, granted under, say exceptional circumstances, human rights, ganon, FLRFP, and normally kailangan mo 10 years to get the indefinite leave to remain. Because dahil may visa ka na, absolutely, you can swap it to a spouse visa using that form, FLRM. So mangyayari, papalitan mo, so when you apply to extend your visa, you then swap it at the same time to as that of a spouse. Now, there is some mileage in doing that, and it's really a question of timing. So, rather than 10 years under the FLRFP original application, so leave to remain outside the general rules, rather than 10 years under the spouse visa, you need 5 years. No? Now, you can't use the 2.5 years na nagamit yun na, that you've done. So you can't just simply add then a 2.5 year as a spouse with the 2.5 years that you've done. You need to start over again. So ibig sabihin, kailangan mo 5 years under as a spouse. But that's okay. So, effectively, what will happen is, ang total na kailangan mong visa, it's 7.5 years. So the 2.5 years that you've done, tapos yung 5 years additionally, 2.5 years and 2.5 years. So it's you save, if you like, no, 2.5 years, and therefore one application and cost of that application. So there's some mileage in looking at the FLRM, so a spouse application. But beware, no, if you're swapping it to an FLRM application for spouse application, then you need to satisfy the spouse conditions. So income must not be less than 18,600. You need the English language. You need anyway to show genuineness of relationship. Find accommodation, of course, in any event. No? So all those things you need to be able to tick those boxes. And unless you are able to, then you may not want to swap it, because otherwise you may get a refusal. No? So the answer is yes, you can. When you should do it would be when you make your application to extend your leave to remain. Now, whether you should depends really where you are, what stage you're at of in the 10-year route already. So kung kalahati ka na, so if you already had 5 years under the 10-year route, you need to consider whether it's worth it, because you have another 5 years. So it's 5 years. It's 5 years under the FLRFP and 5 years under a spouse FLRM. So you may not want to even bother changing, but it's a possibility.
Attorney, parang risk of the benefit of either shortening it by 7.5 years or
2.5 years.
Oh, di ba? Hindi, kasi di ba 7.5 years, imbis na yung 10 years na magiging mapapa-accept if you convert it to FLRM by satisfying, of course, as 18,000, the English, the accommodation. Pero meron danger pag if you swap, may sinasabi, meron bang nasa bingit din ba na baka pumalpak? Ganun ba?
Yeah, actually, that's yeah. I mean, it's in fact, that's a good point, no? Kung papalitan mo yung visa mo, so you sabihin natin FLRFP, and amongst other things, they looked at the length of time na nandito ka, maybe relationship outside your relationship nga, with your partner. Of course, kung papalitan mo yun to spouse, and then the marriage breaks down, then you have a problem dahil ang visa mo on the basis of a spouse. It's a very valid point. Now, do you want to risk it? Because of course, a spouse visa means exactly that. Ang status mo dependent on your spouse. If you have a breakup, then that's potentially a problem. If your 10-year visa was granted on other things, sabihin natin, meron kayong anak, or meron kang anak from another relationship, or something else, you may not necessarily want to give up that visa and risk your status on the basis of marriage. So it's a valid point.
Nag-7.5 lang ako kasi sabi nyo, kasi kung nauna ng 2.5 tapos may 5 pang dadagdag, di ba? So it could be a good strategy na makasave ka ng 2.5 years, pero there could also be a problem on the other hand, no? Okay. May ito nakakatuwa. Sabi ni Dan Luke. Hi. Siguro mga Breton do, no? Jenna Badillo, Celia Valiente, thank you very much for watching. Okay. Attorney, ito may tanong dito. Sandali, may tanong dito. Maria Fe, thanks for watching. Sabi nung Jella Marie, Linlin Allen. Siguro sinasabi kay Linlin Allen, uy, manood ka na yan sa show nila. Dahil imbis na magtanong o mag-message sa atin, parang minessage yung tao, Linlin Allen. Jella Marie, hi. Junila Lintag Ocampo, no? Hi, attorney. Hindi lumabas to, attorney. So, binabasa ko rito sa ating isang no? Okay. Hi, attorney.
Okay.
Need na meet ang financial requirement ng mag-sponsor dito sa 18,000 annual income? Attorney, need na meet? Need na meet ang financial requirement ng mag-sponsor dito sa 18,600 annual income?
I suspect ito.
Baka need ng, is it a requirement siguro, a financial requirement for the sponsoring spouse siguro, gano'n, no?
Yeah, so kung magpapasok kayong application as a spouse, no, under Appendix FM, no, so there are a number of conditions na kailangan yung pakita. So if it's a spouse application, so sabihin natin nasa Pinas siya, gusto niyang pumasok dito, nandito nga yung partner, kasal na sila, then do you need to meet the 18,600 if you're making an application as a spouse under Appendix FM? The answer is absolutely. You need to meet the 18,600. Hindi 18,000 po, 18,600. Hindi 500. It must be no less than 18,600 pounds.
18,600, attorney, ang sinabi niya.
Opo. Yeah.
Oo.
Oh, sorry. My apologies. So 18,600 is what you need to be able to show before tax naman, no? So absolutely, the answer is yes. You need to meet the 18,600 if you're making an application under the spouse route, unless if you're getting certain types of benefits, no? The one that I come across often is what's called the PIP, no? Which is the I think it's a personal independence payment. So kung merong if you have health issues, for example, then if you have that kind of a benefit, then you would satisfy the income requirement kahit nga kulang, because you will even though PIP does not provide you with 18,600 per annum. But yeah, no, the answer is yes, Mr. Campo.
Alam mo, kasi puro love ang pinag-uusapan natin because you discussed, di ba, immigration and marrying in the UK, no? So, ito, puro mga love ang pinag-uusapan natin.
Yeah.
Marriage, ganyan, strategies, ganyan, mga pinag-uusapan, tactics, you mentioned tactics, di ba, mga ganyan, no? Okay, ito naman si Edgardo Cagahastian, no? May tanong siya. Attorney Lira, naka-intercompany transfer working visa, then got married to a British one. Wow, British 1 year before mag-expire ang visa. Can the person change her visa status here in the UK? Ayan ang tanong.
Yeah, you can make an application because it's intercompany transfer. She or he would have a visa in the UK quite properly, no, over and above a visit visa. So looking to swap that kind of visa to a spouse visa, you can do that. I'm assuming, of course, that the person you're marrying is it's actually married to a British. That's fine. So yes, you can.
Apo, pwede, attorney. Okay. Eto, merong litis, Katan-Riz. Yan din ang pinakatitingnan ng home office dito. Lagi kitang pinapakinggan, attorney. Salamat sa mga info. Hindi ko alam kung ano yung nire-refer niya, no? Binabasa ko lang yung kanyang message. Mahani Rajak is watching us, no? Mabuhay. Oo. Ito, hindi ko makita rito. So, babasahin ko dito attorney. Mukhang hindi yata lumabas dito Okay. Tanong, no? Hi po. Ito si Clarissa, no? Sa Denyo. I have 2 years tourist visa po, pero mag-end na ang stay ko dito sa UK on March kasi 180 days lang po ang duration sa UK. Ang question ko po is, am I allowed to extend my stay here in the UK?
Generally, Clarissa, no is the answer. Even though 2 years even though it's a 2-year multiple visa.
Multiple entry yan siguro, no? Multiple entry siguro yan, no?
Yun na nga. But tama ka, that's 180 days yung maximum. So
6 months.
generally, they will not extend visit visas. That's the general rule. I mean, of course, there can be circumstances that stops you from going back, especially at the moment, COVID, especially kung lalala nga. But the general rule is no extensions to visit visas in country.
Ayan. Okay. Paul Anthony Bartley, no? Thank you for watching, no? Fe Castro, Mark Samson, thanks guys for watching, no? Thank you very much. Nagpapasalamat si Emily Hintay Fernandez says thank you. Thank you po sa advice, Attorney Lira. Sweden Cordero, no? Thank you very much for watching. Ito si Okay. Merly Alicante says, uy, ganda na apelido yan, Alicante, no? She says, she's watching, ano ba pangalan to? Watching from South Wales. Uy, taga South Wales, no? Nagpaparamdam. And she says, interesting topic tonight. Ayan, oh. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Why? Merong nagpapasalamat sa akin. Thank you din po. Sabing ganon. Sir Sonny, thank you din po. Ayun, si Imelda Hintay Fernandez. Oh, ito, may follow-up question. Ako, talagang okay, si Queen Road, sabi niya, follow-up question po. I have spouse visa already under 5 years route ng visa is up soon. Not really sure how much, and what's the process to po for visa extension before the ILR application po? Do you get the gist of it?
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, there. As I understand it, five. She may it may be an extension. Let's deal with both. So it could just be an extension. So binigyan siya ng visa under the 5-year route as a spouse, no? So she's already done the 2.5 years, yung first 2.5 years. So ano bang kailangan niya in order to get the extension? So another 2.5 years before she can apply for indefinite leave to remain when she's completed 5 years leave to remain. So yung nga, I think one of the viewers before, it would be, ano kailangan yung pakita? It would be, of course, to show that the relationship is ongoing, na yung income nyo, or income yung pareho is no less than 18,600 pounds. You need to still satisfy the English requirement. You can potentially use that, the certificate that you used before, in order to satisfy that, if it's A1 or B1 or A2, yung kung ano ginamit yung last time. You need to also show, of course, accommodation in the UK. It doesn't have to be owned by you. It can be simply rented. Now, so that's I think what the question is about. Pero pagka the fee for that would be £1,052.20p, and also IHS yung surcharge nga, your contribution to the NHS, and that amounts to £624 per year, approximately £1,560 for the 2.5 years. So total na kailangan yung bayad sa home office is effectively over £2,500. So start saving up. No? Now, kung indefinite ng application nyo, then it's different requirements. For the English language, it's a higher level, no? It's a B1 level, and also you need this life in the UK certificate. That's quite hard, yeah. Umpisahan nyo na pag-aralan yun if you need to do that. The income is still the same. That is the 18,600 nga, and you need also still, of course, the accommodation, no? But clearly, dahil nandito ka, you don't need the TB certificate. So it's, but of course, if you're under that route already, so pag 5 taon ka na dito, magli-5 taon ka na, then it's an indefinite leave to remain application.
Meron akong kakilala, attorney, take 3 na yan dyan sa Life in the UK test exam, no?
Na unusual, yeah. Sonny, it's yeah. I always say nga to clients nga, to people when they get it's a bit depressing if you fail, especially at saka mahal, no?
Mahal ba? Magkano ba yun?
I think it's something like £150. It could even be more now,
actually.
Magkano
yung kinuha ko dati nung araw, no? Oh.
Yeah, but
okay.
Look, wag kayong unang-una,
mahirap yan.
it's not unusual, no? Most of my clients pass third time, no? Unusually, sometimes people pass first time, but truly, it's not, okay, mahiya, pursige nyo, it will happen, no? But most people, especially tayong mga Pinoy, lagi tayong nagtatrabaho, no? So, umaga, you get ready for work, you come back, pagod ka na, ayaw mo na mag-review, which is all perfectly understandable. And then the weekends, you try and catch up with sleep, or sometimes may trabaho ka din, weekends. So, you need to take the time, really. It's not, hindi nga yung basta-basta. So, you need to take the time to actually study. And don't be depressed kung hindi kayo makapasa ng unang-una. Truly, it happens so frequently. That it's not a question of not knowing it, not being capable. It's more a question of wala kayong time. So kailangan mo pahinga. You need to tackle it fresh when you so that it sticks to mind.
Baka sabihin ni Emmeline Rapel, ang yabang na naman ni Sunny ngayon. No? Alam mo, attorney, nakuha ko yan, take one, tapos na perfect yung exam. Oo, yeah.
Wow.
Hindi, nakuha ko yan. Kaya lang,
well done.
ang libro ko, buti nga yan, siguro, ang libro ko pa na yung malipis na kulay blue na Life in the UK. Doon lang pinabasa ko pag nasa bus, nasa ano ko saan. Mas maganda yung merong, siguro ngayon, may mga disc na ngayon, mas madali. Pero napakahirap niya because tatandaan mo yung mga saints ng bawat bansa, yung kung ano yung migration ng mga, di ba, first, second, mga batches ng ano, no? Ng mga dagsidatingan, mga Indians, mga from West Indies, from Ireland, ganyan, no? So, ayan, ano yan, matrabaho yan. Tapos yung mga important dates. I'm sure parang tayo, bigyan mo tayo ng test ng Philippine history siguro, baka babagsak tayo or anything about Philippine, no? Di ba?
Yeah.
Ganun din sa mga Briton, no? Nahirapan din sila. Oo. Ayan.
Yeah. No,
Pero ikaw,
hindi nga yung basta-basta.
Oo, mahirap yan. Maraming mga bagsak talaga yan, no? Pero ano yan, no? Pero may age na exempted tayo. Attorney, I think we discussed one time na may age na wala ka na. Pwede ka na, hindi ka na magaganyan pa, di ba? Di ba?
65.
65, oo. So, teka muna, di mag-i-exam sila ng 65.
Malayo ka pa.
malayo pa, Diyos ko. Di, bagsak sila ng bagsak hanggang sa mag-65. Oo, sige na, pasakan na lang nga lang. Hindi kaya gawa sila na sa ruling dyan sa UK government na pag nag-take 10 ka, pasado ka na lang. No? Di ba? Pasa ka na lang sa awa na lang siguro. Siguro parang humanitarian reasons, no? Ang hirap niya, siyempre. Hindi, mahirap talaga. It's difficult. Hindi ka sa, no? Okay. Si Jennifer, sabi ni Jennifer Guevara Bukad, God bless your programs, Sir Sunny and Attorney Lira. Very informative and interesting topic. Learned a lot. Blessed night, no? Sabi niya. Si Lorraine Cantos, ito. Sabi niya, Attorney, how about both no visa but very genuine relationship? Let's say, 13 years already and living together. Teka, walang visa, so, ibig sabihin, overstayers to? Paano yan?
Yeah, so, No,
Ayan, okay.
Sorry.
Okay.
Bigla ako nawala. My apologies.
No, nawala ka, attorney. Nawala.
Pagod na yung camera ko. I'm so sorry.
Hindi, nagutom. Ako, alam mo, sa totoo lang, attorney, nagutom na ako sa dami ng questions natin. Sunod-sunod. Parang ano pa. No? Sige, okay. So, ano yung tanong niya? Yun. Okay. Sige, tuloy mo yung sagot mo.
So, I was saying, you probably didn't hear. So, I mean, it's actually, it's a scenario that happens, in fact, more regularly than you would think, you know? So, nandito na yung tao, pareho silang walang visa nga, genuine relationship, they're living together. So, what can you do? So, unang-una, if they want to marry in the United Kingdom, of course, they can also do that. Kahit nga pareho silang walang status. But it's really a question of, do you really want to do that? No? That, are you ready to make such an application? So, it's more, not so much the marriage, but, of course, the immigration issue nga. Now, it's worth taking advice about, because 13 years, matagal na nga 13 years, of course, but the 14-year rule, no, which existed over a decade ago, wala na nga yun. So there's no point waiting for 14 years because you can't make an application under the 14-year route anymore. Now, it's now 20 years. And kung 13 years na sila dito, matagal pa, no? So another 7 years, of course, to go, unfortunately. But it could also be a question of other things. So it could be na meron silang anak, for example, in the United Kingdom, or there are family members, or indeed even employers nga in the UK to whom they have a close bond. So it's a possibility that they could still make an application either on their own or indeed together under a different route. But kailangan nyo mag-ingat, no? Because kung pareho kayong wala, then there's no the family, if you like, the family life is not that strong. Dahil wala nga kayong hook, no? So they definitely they should take advice before making an application.
Okay. Attorney, we will probably go faster siguro or hindi. Minsan sometimes you really have to explain talaga lengthily yung ano, no? Yung sagot sa kanila, no? It's either we won't be able to accommodate all tonight. Ano, paano gagawin natin, attorney?
Well,
I'm posing the questions here.
Yeah. Let's deal with as many questions as we can. I'll try and be brief. Tapos, given the interest nga, no, shown about this topic, let's pick it up again next week.
Okay. Sige.
Yeah.
Pero bibilisan natin ngayon. The quickest way that you can reply to the, no? Parang ano lang naman to, parang guidance lang naman itong binibigay mo, di ba?
Yeah.
Okay. Ito, may tanong lang dito. Okay, Kerf Tenny, no? Question po ulit. If you're illegal and you got married last year, advice po, hindi ko makuha eh. Can you read it, attorney? Nababasa ba?
Yeah, I can read it. So, sabi niya dito, question, ulit po, if you're illegal and you got married here, no, and advice po ng solicitor was to go home after ng kasal, but due to COVID, nag-apply kayo dito,
FLRFP.
Using the FLRFP, ano po ang chance na ma-approve yung visa?
Parang hindi na-discuss mo yan, di ba? Yung mga risk yata yan kanina, di ba? Oo.
Yeah, it depends really.
It could be earlier, kung maganda, kung panalo ka, o medyo... sige, okay, go ahead, sorry, sige.
Yeah, so it depends really on your situation, you see. I mean, the COVID is one factor na titignan nga nila. But on its own, kung hindi siya umuwi just because of COVID, when in fact you could, no, that on its own will not lead to a grant of visa. So it's a factor to look at, yung COVID. But don't rely on simply that. There's probably a reason why the solicitor said you should maybe go home and make an application to come back into the United Kingdom. It may be that yung application is not strong enough potentially to pursue an application in country. But given where you are now, no, if you're worried, ask again, or indeed take a second opinion, no. So the COVID will not likely add to a better result or come up with a better result just because of COVID.
Okay. May question dito si Mark Samson. Attorney, hindi lumabas sa system natin basahin ko lang Sabi niya, Attorney, do you accept clients in the UK regarding help for visa applications for a relative in the Philippines, mom-in-law? Balo na po, nag-iisa na lang sa Pinas, kami po ay citizens na dito. Thanks. Ito yata yung 2012 na nawala na yung dependents over 65. Yun ba? Does it fall under that or hindi naman?
Yeah.
What can they do?
I mean, the answer is yes, of course. No, I accept half of my clients are from abroad nga. So happy to assist there. But unfortunately, yung adult dependent route really is what they need to look at. And the adult dependent route has been made extremely hard, no, by the change in the law back in 2012, I think it was. So ngayon, iba na nga kailangan yung pakita. So kahit balo na nga siya and she's over 65, it may well be that she's kayo nga lang ang you depending on you both. That even all those factors does not mean mabibigyan nga siya ng visa as an adult dependent, because now there's a question of health. So it's the someone actually described it as a ban masquerading as a rule, and I think that's probably appropriate. So if that's a particular concern for you, no, Kerf, if you email me, no, ang gagawin ko, I'll send you the actual link.
Mark, sorry. Si Mark yun. Naiwanan lang to. Mark Samson.
Sorry.
Mark Samson, yeah.
Oh, sorry. Mark, email me, you email mo, and I'll send you the link.
Ito, email. Sige, papakita. Oo.
Yeah.
Pero, yan ba hindi kaya pwede yan, attorney, mag-overstay dito na lang? Pumunta sila as a visitor's visa, tapos mag-overstay? I don't know, hindi ko tinuturuan mag-illegal. Pero, yan ba yung isang tactic, strategy, o I don't know.
Yeah, it's never a good idea. Yeah,
never a good idea. Okay.
It's not a good idea for so many reasons. That it's it must be so depressing nga, no? Na hindi ka pwedeng makauwi, hindi ka pwedeng kumuha ng maiging trabaho, lagi kang natatakot. So it's not really it must be a horrible situation to be in, especially, you know, Christmas time, mag-isa ka nga dito. So think twice, 3 times, no, before doing that. It's
Okay. Sige. So yun na yung doing that overstaying, TNT nung no kanyang okay, mom-in-law. Okay. Pero email ka kay attorney. Tingnan, hindi ko pa na-flash ko ba email niya. Ayan, so kabatbat@douglas-simon.com. Ayan. Kabatbat, simple lang yung surname niya, no? Lira Simon Kabatbat. So kabatbat@douglas-simon.com. Okay. May follow-up question now. Ito kagandahan lang kasi nito. Everybody also learns, no? Doon sa mga tanong ng ating mga kasamahan, yung mga nanonood sa atin. So, okay, sabi niya, follow-up question po, how about I am a spouse visa but I'm not married yet here in the UK, but I'm planning to do so, applying for permanent visa within 5 years for remain spouse visa. Remain spouse visa. Is that okay? It will be no problems, immigration office. Ayan. Binasa ko lang ito. Nakuha ko na yun.
So she's sabi nga niya dito, okay, so spouse visa but not married yet in the United Kingdom. So I suspect ang visa nga niya, even though she refers to it as spouse visa, is it's unmarried spouse, no? Pwede pa rin siya pwede kang bigyan ng visa as an unmarried spouse if you can show that you've been in a relationship akin to marriage, no? And usually that means that you've been together for 2.5 years. But it's just you unmarried. So yun nga siguro ang visa niya. Now, the question is it, hindi pa kayo kasal, I'm planning to do so permanent visa. So you can still make an application exactly on the same basis. Yung pa rin kailangan yung pakita, even though you are not married. So as long as you can still show nga, so obviously you're not married yet, but as long as you can show relationship genuine, income is sapat nga income, 18.6, of course accommodation and also the English language, all those things, it still should be fine, Merly,
Okay.
even though hindi nga kayo kasal.
Okay, I might skip some questions. Pakitanong na lang, ito lang ito yung ni attorney, no. Email address yan kung gusto niyo mag-email, no, kung sakaling baka hindi na mabasa, no. Pasensya na. Kumbaga, there's a thing as first come first serve, no. So kung medyo masyado nang late din ang dating, but we're trying to accommodate as much as we can, no. Pero ito follow up lang ni Jonathan. We were married 3 years ago. Then she needs to apply for extension this coming May. I want to inform the Home Office for breakup because I feel she's just using me. Binanggit mo kanina, baka gano'n, no? Masakit naman na, no? To get a legal stay here. All I want is to void my marriage. Attorney, you wanna comment lang dyan, o binasa lang natin?
I mean, Jonathan, yung nga, look, there are two issues there nga, no? So with the extension nga of visa, actually you are obliged, in fact, to tell the Home Office na wala na nga kayo. So yun ang una. As far as voiding your marriage is concerned, you can apply for what's called an annulment to get the marriage voided. Or alternatively, if you accept that the marriage was it's a true marriage, then it's simply that you broke up, then you need to get nga a divorce. So as far as the immigration goes, though, kung wala na nga kayo and you are the spouse, then you actually the Home Office will normally want to hear from you kung wala na nga kayo.
Ito, binasa ko lang kasi si Jingle Dapi, no? Again, watching from Switzerland. Talagang ini-emphasize
Wow.
again.
Look at her photo. Lovely.
Oo nga, wow. Switzerland. Ako, mabuhay kayo dyan Switzerland. I love to go to Switzerland, no? To go again. Okay. Ito, Bing Bing. Pangalan niya, Bing Bing. Kamag-anak ni Bang Bang to, no? Tsaka ni Beng Beng. Good evening po. Just a quick question po. Sabi niya, my daughter arrived here when she was 16. She studied college here and graduated in uni. Kailangan pa po bang niyang kumuha ng English exam kung mag-apply siya ng British citizenship? Thanks po. Hindi na siguro dahil nag-university na, no? No,
Yeah,
hindi na.
yeah, no. So she's undertaken a degree taught in English. So that's what you need to provide. So hindi problema.
Okay, all right. Oh, yan, no. Ma-approve mo lang na ano, te, sandali ah. Uh, okay. Oh, we have a probably Mikey or Mickey, is it Mickey? Mickey Duncan. Huh? Hello, I am a British citizen engaged to a Filipina. Is it possible to use a third-party family member as a sponsor to cover the income requirements for the spouse visa?
No, is the
No.
answer to that. No, it's a factor that they can look at, but the income requirement is quite strict. It must be 18,600 from the sponsoring spouse.
Ayun. Oo.
Yeah,
Ayan.
unfortunately.
Sige. Okay, napakahirap talaga ng life in the UK test daw, no? Nalilito na ako sa mga ano pero pasensya na kung hindi ko na mabasa yung ano, yung mga messages nyo, no? Jemmy Nenit Kinghead, Jemmy Bayaw, yan, no? Thank you, no? Heraline Santos, thank you for watching, no? And so nagpapasalamat sa iyo yung mga ano, yung ating mga ano, no, mga viewers, no? Okay, sabi ni Jingle Dapin, I love watching your program. More info. Best regards from Switzerland. No, ayan. Sige. Sarah Gray. Sige, okay. Ayan, nagpapasalamat si Yan Galicia Paner dahil napasa niya yung kanyang Life in the Spirit Seminar. Life in the UK. Life in the Spirit Seminar. Okay.
Well done.
Ayan, napakahirap po ng Life in the UK test, but I thank God. I thank God, sabi niya. I passed my life in the test and my B1 test, I'm applying my naturalization. Mabuhay.
Good.
Okay. Well, ayan. Marami, nakakalito kasi marami tayo. Kasi hindi nagsusunod-sunod, attorney, yung mga ano kasi, yung mga questions. Okay, so ayan. I guess, okay. Yun na muna siguro, attorney. Ito, teka na. Hindi lumabas dito. Babasahin ko. From Jennifer Bukad Kerr. No? Sabi niya, Attorney Lira, saan na ba yan? May friend, may friend po ako nag-upload ng mga documents at nakapag-biometric na. Kaso, yung isang document niya, di pa na-upload, narik. Makaka-apekto ba ito sa spouse visa niya? Kasi no chance na photo upload. Thanks. I don't know.
Yeah, it depends really why you're uploading the NARIC.
NARIC,
spouse visa, yung, so it could be na you want to show
sa English. Sa English siguro.
Yeah, so if you're submitting the NARIC to show that you have you satisfy the English language, no?
Baka yun.
Because yung ano mo, yung degree mo is equivalent.
Degree,
Then yeah, it's quite a crucial document. Pero if you've done the biometric already, tama siya. So in that case, because it does happen, no? Ang payo ko, submit it to the Home Office anyway, no? Post it and make sure nandun yung reference nga, explain na unfortunately this was omitted. So submit it and make sure padala mo special delivery. So hopefully it still gets there and they of course deal with it, no? So yeah, don't just leave it out. But of course, tingnan mo, is it absolutely necessary? If it's not necessary, don't stress. That's fine. Pero kung kailangan nga yun for the English language, absolutely submit it. Paabon nyo na nga lang. Send it by post.
Ayan, okay. Well, nagutom ako sa session na. But this is good. Natutuwa tayo. Very informative. Ayun naman ang habol lang natin dito. Sabi nga nung iba, they mentioned it, this is public service lingkod bayan itong ginagawa natin. No? So thank you very much. No? And more power, sabi nila. No? Thank you rin. No? Mabuhay. Yeah, it's been a very, parang, kumbaga sa naka-prime time tayo. Di ba? Kasi sa amin, pag sa Pilipinas ng araw, pag DJ ka, naka-morning slot ka, let's say 10 to 6 to 9, 6 to ganyan, no? Ayun tinatawag nilang prime time sa Pilipinas, 5 Yun ang marami, madugo yun. Because as a DJ, you're really very active during that time. So tonight, it's been a very wonderful night. No? We've had so many reactions, questions, And it's nice, no? We try our best, no? Pero kung meron ho kayong yan, ito lang na kay attorney ho, no? Pwede hong kunyari, medyo bitin kayo. Siyempre, hindi naman tayo pwede mag-broadcast ng 24 hours. No, ayan ho. So, pwede ho kayo mag-email dyan. Attorney, sige. Well, magpapaalam na siguro tayo. We made everybody's Thursday happy.
Yeah.
So, baka meron kang shout-outs or anything like that. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, I mean, it's. I would just say, so apologies po if we didn't get around to your questions. Then it's a very actually interesting and big topic nga itong topic na pinag-usapan natin, yung marriage and anything to do with those kinds of applications. So, kung meron kayong mga question hindi namin nagawa nabasa nga, email them, no? Feel free to email it to me, and then I'm happy to deal with it next week. So I promise whatever's emailed to me, if you want me to read it out tapos deal with it, I'll do that next week because it's I think it's important. It's a public service. It's important. Your questions often help others nga. So I'm more than happy, of course, to deal with it. Otherwise, kung private nga, gusto niya akong kausapin, email it to me. And just the subject would be Immigration Corner. And if you want me just to call you rather than, of course, dealing with it over online, then again, just let me know. Happy to do that. But I'm so happy for everyone nga to listen. Ano po?
Attorney, may last question lang na pinapahabol na nakikiusap. Pwede ba to? May GP kasi binabanggit eh. Sure. Last question po. If you are illegal here and you got married last year and advice po ng solicitor was to go back home, but unfortunately due to COVID-19 dito na sa UK nag-apply ng visa, ano po ang chance na ma-approve ang visa? And while you are waiting sa result ng visa, am I allowed to see my GP? Hindi po ba maapektuhan ang result ng application? Thank you for answering my questions. I really appreciate it. Concerning siguro yung medical, diba? Free, okay. Anyway, yeah, attorney.
So, so if the only reason for not going back nga is yung COVID, no? That's probably on its own not a good reason. Could be, no? Then you could have gone back at any time because it's not that there's a blanket ban between now and but maybe from the time you made the application until now, which may have been a year because obviously we've been in this lockdown since March last year. So yun ang una. So on its own, COVID may not lead to a grant. No? Now, as far as seeing your GP is concerned, if you're afraid, if you have concerns about COVID, it's actually one of those few conditions that you are entitled, in fact, to seek medical assistance, and it's free. COVID, HIV, for example, I think TB is also included. So, so do not be afraid to seek assistance, medical help, either from your GP or kaya hospital, if you think na nahawaan ka and you're afraid of COVID. So, so you can absolutely see your GP.
Attorney, yung bang, for example, availing of mga GPs, yung National Health Service, hindi ba yan parang, di ba yung no recourse to public funds, yung mga ganun ba? Hindi ba yun pasok doon? Kanyari, baka yun kinatatakot niya na it would more or less masilip yung ma-disqualify siya. Dahil pag illegal ka, how do teka na, hahaba tayo, nagugutom. Bibili ako, meron ako pansit palabok dito pagkatapos natin ngayon.
Talaga?
May pansit palabok ako nang ma-microwave ko na lang. But anyway, yan, yung mga gano'n, mga public, but anyway, next week na lang natin, sige, pag-usapan. So anyway, sinagot mo naman yata yung tanong niya, attorney. Ako lang naman to may pahabol na question about recourse to public funds and so on and so forth. No? Kasi I remember, merong family dito, siyempre, pagka dumating ang nurses, work permit, and then afterwards they get apply for their residency. Natakot sila because pagdating pa lang nila, nakakuha na sila ng mga benefits, yung mga child benefits. So, and they were afraid that would be makikita yon papunta sa application nila sa permanent residency. So, yun, baka maka-disqualify and so on and so forth. No? Anyway, nagpaalam ka na ba, attorney? Baka may mga... go ahead, sorry.
Yeah. No, just to say thank you all. Please, thank you for watching. And I know every week sinasabi ko to, but it is true. I'm humbled by you taking time to join us, and the many questions are are great because it makes it much more interesting, no? And I'm more than happy, absolutely, to deal with. I'm just sorry na I take so long to deal with questions. They're also interesting, no? So email me nga mga questions nyo. I'm happy to deal with it. And kasalanan ko that I just take too long to deal with questions.
Hindi,
That's
okay lang
because
yan.
I enjoy the topic. Eh.
Hindi, okay lang yun, attorney. In fact, bala ko, next time, pag nag-showtime, dala tayong popcorn. Dahil para tayo nanonood ng teleserye dito dahil, di ba, mga kwento ng tao yan. You know, kamukha no, yung kwento ni, sino ba tayo? Yung tungkol sa girlfriend niya, asawa niya pala, of 3 years na, di ba? Eventually, they broke down. Should he inform the, the home office? Hindi naman masama, di ba? Because that would be a requirement, di ba? You have to really inform the, if there was a breaking down of the marriage. So all of these love stories that we know, yung mga illegal na got married, and how itong mga FLR, FPM, di ba? This is quite interesting dahil pagka tinamaan kayo, at it happened to you, ay, ito pala yung pinag-uusapan doon sa immigration corner nila, attorney at saka ni Sunny, no? Di ba? So ayan, malaking bagay ho yan. Hindi naman porque na sinasabi wag kayo magtanong, we encourage it. It's just that talagang maganda. It's a wonderful night, napahaba. But if you have any more questions, pwede ho dyan sa email address ni attorney. Okay, well, I guess it's time for us to say goodbye, no? Sa ngalan ho ni attorney Lira Simon CABATBAT, no? Ito po si Sunny LARAGAN nagsasabing thank you very much for making our Thursday happy, and we're glad na we made your Thursday happy. At we're happy, si attorney, no? Na nakikita kayo dyan. You've got your questions and you're interacting. Maraming salamat to. Yun na ho ang purpose at essence ng program nito. It's to more or less guide you, no? By way of an expert in the immigration law, no? Si attorney nga. So, maraming salamat to. At sana huwag kayong magsawang sumubaybay sa amin. Kami rin naman ho ay hindi ho nagsasawa. And we love you, no? We enjoy this interaction, this bubble to. Attorney, virtual bubble natin, support bubble natin to, di ba? Kung yung mga mental health ninyo, kung makita nyo man lang ako, mangiti, at saka si attorney, nangiti kayo. Kasi yun, suot ni attorney, naka-sleeveless. O ako ngayon, di ba, sabi nga noon, kamukha daw ako ni Brad Pitt, no? Maraming salamat.
Absolutely.
Ay, magagalit si Emeline Rafael. Okay, maraming salamat. Let's do again a happy Thursday next Thursday. So, maraming salamat. In the meantime, enjoy the rest of your evening. Bye-bye!
Messenger audio.
Sweetheart, ikaw ba yan? Ay, okay. Alright.